Yeah.
I know that I brought this up a couple shows back, probably a few times because I forget what I say. So it was on the BBC. I like watching the BBC News in Australia simply because they don't have any skin in the game and they tell it like it is. So there were, it was a news crew that was on the border. And this was like, I think a year or two into Biden's administration, right after he was like, we're not building the wall, this other BS. And this newscaster was actually going over this and said, Biden stated that they're not going to continue to build the wall. But if you look behind me, they're still building a wall. Now, I don't know what portion of it was, if it was in Texas or whatever, but they were still continuing to build that wall, which I thought was pretty interesting for someone that didn't want to build the wall.
Well, it's so funny that back in 2016, that majority of Democrats signed a bill that was called the Fence Act, that was actually to build some kind of structure to keep illegals from crossing the border and so that they would go to points of entry.
Right.
And then funny thing, when Trump says we need to build a wall, they said, well, that's racist and whatever else and xenophobic and stuff. And he's like, what the y'all just, we back.
Yay.
He said, y'all just signed that damn thing. What?
Right.
So, excuse me.
Unbelievable.
Another one, restoring faith in our legal immigration systems and strengthening integration and inclusion efforts for new Americans.
I feel bad for all of the people that have come up from Mexico, Honduras, all the lower countries there, that did come up here and do it the right way, filled out all the paperwork, jumped through all the hoops, and they are now citizens here of America. And, these people that are coming over illegally, they get all of the fruits from the hard work that they haven't even done, that everybody else had to work for, which I think is total BS.
Yeah,
I'd be pissed.
And they say, well, there's migrants that come up here and this, that, and the other, and they pick, the vegetables and they, whatever. Yeah, and they're documented.
Right.
And they're even coming up and doing all the hard work, right? And if you're a documented worker, like a migrant worker, where
right.
you're not a citizen, but a documented worker, you also pay taxes. You pay a certain tax.
You pay an American tax or whatever. Is it state tax or federal or both?
I think it's federal. I don't think they hit them for the state
Okay.
because they're not residents.
Okay,
technically.
Gotcha.
But the thing about it is that they're paying taxes, and yet then again, you have the illegals coming over, and they're getting all the benefits of all the services that the migrants have come over and have paid that they're not getting.
Right.
And it's just like it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And if you say that, and believe me, I could see the people coming over the border, and if you think these are persecuted people that are starving to death and all this other stuff,
think again.
You got another thing coming.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you got another thing coming. And like I said before, or like we've said many times, most of the people that you do have coming over the border is not the
nicest.
It's not the doctors and whatever that's just looking for a better life and looking to contribute into the new country's, society. Right. No, these are people that low, and this, that, and the other, and anyway, and yeah, you do have some families, you do have some, some women and children that are coming over. But again, it's not all
right. Not
persecution and asylum and all this
right.
stuff.
It's just not. I don't think it's in good faith. You know what I mean? Like, if I uprooted my family to come to America, it is to take care of them. to take care of my family, that type of thing that I couldn't get back home. So I don't believe that 100% of the people that are coming over here are ill-intentioned. But like I've said before, if I had dangerous criminals and everything like that were in my country, meaning somewhere else than America, I would open those floodgates on my jail cells and on my prisons and personally drive you up to the border, and I would stand there with a line of M16s and say, okay, you can leave, but don't ever come back here again.
Hell, I might even do a little government subsidy and give some of the smugglers, say, hey, here's some money, get all these criminals across the border.
Right.
And leave them over there.
Absolutely.
And
they're coming over here somehow.
Yep.
Not all of them.
And not all the people are criminals and stuff. We get that. But the point of the matter is, and especially if you have people who are in a country where they are being persecuted, you had a couple people who backed the other president other than Maduro.
Right.
And then Maduro's like, okay, then he's gonna put a hit on these people. They're like, oh, okay, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
So then now these people had a legitimate, issue.
Right.
And need to seek asylum, but because you got 5 billion illegals, then it hems them up, and then they're trying to get in, and this is like, whatever.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, it's bullshit. Rebuilding and enhancing programs to resettle refugees and planning for the impact of climate change on migration. I think I put that in both. I think I put that in.
My God.
I think I put that in the border crisis and also climate change.
Oh my God. So I guess
climate change's effect on immigration.
So I guess where they were coming from is you now have more people that are moving, that are walking long distances and things like that, which are probably getting not the greatest nutritional type of food. So as they are continuing to move, they're burning energy, which creates actual gas inside the bodies. Exactly. So because of all this extra gas caused by the migration of people trying to get into America, that could definitely impact our climate. Just like, the cow, remember the...
when they wanted to start fining farmers for cow farts.
Yeah, methane. We're putting too much methane into the air because of the cows.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Let's go to COVID.
Yay.
Real quick. Supporting the reopening and continuing operation of schools and early childhood education centers. This is if you had another COVID issue.
Right.
We're not closing the schools again.
No, it's over.
They've had psychological studies. They've had health studies. They've had all these studies done, and they said it absolutely positively was the worst thing they could have done.
Right.
Was to close the schools.
Well, I think the other thing going along with COVID is, so with this happening, there are people in the government and pretty much in many businesses that can afford to work from home. Like their job, they can do that from home. Which I thought was kind of interesting with the government is there are still people that are within the government that hold major jobs that actually are still working from home. Now, I was watching a YouTube video this morning on this, and it's funny because like some people were like, "Oh, it's BS, and they should be allowed to work from home." And then there's other people that are like, "No, wait a minute. This was for COVID. COVID's over.
It's over."
And the other thing somebody brought up too, which I thought was interesting, is they said, well, so the government is paying for all these buildings, paying for the heat, paying for the climate control, the food and everything like that, and there's nobody in them. So what are we actually paying for?
Yeah, I mean, and they said that there's no way that they have to be able to either monitor how much time these people at home.
Right.
And let me explain something. Let me explain something about life to you. I work in the government place, and let me tell you something. The government staff, they don't do shit. I'm going to tell you that right now. They don't work even close to the amount of hours the contractors like myself work.
You're not going to get fired.
They're not, because you'd have to kill somebody in cold blood right in the middle of the damn hallway for somebody for you to get fired. So it's like, yeah. So Trump, and they thought Trump was an asshole because he wants people to actually show up for work.
Right.
They were showing up and work for at least 3, maybe even 4 days out of a week. They were at home. And he's like, bruh, then what are we paying? Because the thing about it is the government, when they have a facility, they pay for butts and seats.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So for every seat that they have, they're paying a price for this, in each seat, they calculate, by, basically square footage,
right,
how much you're paying for heat and, blah, blah, blah. And so the government's paying all this money for these, even though people aren't there, they're still paying all this money for the brick and mortar.
Right. Right. Talk about government spending.
Yes, we're talking about government. We're talking about the last administration's bullshit.
Dynamite. Hello.
Dynamite must be JJ, Jimmy Walker. All right, climate change. Protecting public health and the environment and restoring science to tackle the climate crisis.
Weird science. Bum bum.
Which is funny because they had some of these climate scientists in congressional hearing. And I can't remember who the congressman. He's like, can you tell me how much of the atmosphere is made up by CO2? Carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
It's carbon dioxide. Anyway,
yep.
He said, and they couldn't tell him. He said, but okay, well, hold on. He said, but you guys are the the geniuses who are supposed to be explaining climate change, but you can't tell me how much CO2 makes up. And he's like, it was 0.000 blah blah blah. He said, so even if he said, with all the stuff that we've done, he said, let's just say we remove, he said, of that 0.00 whatever percent, how much is that coming from people? And they didn't have an answer for him. And he also had, well, he said, well, here, I'm on NIH website. So 11% is man-made of the 0.00% that's of the carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere.
Wow.
And he's like, so what you're saying is you are pushing forth a agenda that says we got to be all electric cars by 2035, whatever the hell it was, with nothing to say what is included in that. And oh, by the way, he said, I don't seem to see any studies on the manufacturing of these cars. Like the batteries, right, and this, that, and the other, and so forth and so on, and the building of the motors, which does require fossil fuels as well as the plastics and everything else, and blah blah blah.
Right.
Unless you make everything out of bamboo.
So what?
Which bamboo is pretty sturdy. But go ahead.
So, we had a show on the EVs. Was it 7 or 10 years that it would take for you to drive one car to negate the footprint that it made within the environment? Do you remember that? Was it?
Yeah, I remember. I think it was
years?
like 8 to 10, something like that, within that realm.
Right.
But then within that 8 to 10 years, that's when you start getting into maintenance.
Right.
Where, would you say you're?
Oh my God! So yeah,
hit that one.
So my brother-in-law ended up he bought a Mustang Mach E, nice car. And so he was he bought it pre-owned, so he started doing all the research and everything in it. So for the holy shit movement, oh my God, my battery just died. To replace the battery on a Ford Mach E is $20,000. So years ago, my wife was buying a car. We went to CarMax, and I saw all these Teslas out there, and I'm thinking, well, they don't use oil, they don't use gas, and these engines, it's not like a carbureted engine, fuel burning that, you look at the mileage and things like that. So I'm like, well, how do you tell if one of these cars, how do you know if you're going to have problems or anything like that? And the salesperson was like, well, we don't. There's nothing that can go wrong with them. Well, on the back end is when that battery takes a dive, you're going to be looking at around $20,000. Now, I'm sure the price will go down as batteries, technology, and things like that go up. But damn, man, you buy a $30,000 Tesla, and over 75% of that car, that cost, is in the battery itself.
Mm-hmm.
So now, God forbid, you have that car long enough, you have a $50,000 car with a new battery, and I'm sure there's got to be all kinds of updates at that point in time with the electronics and everything.
And since you don't have an engine, but you do have a motor on all four tires, so you're going to tell me those motors are never going to go out?
Right.
So
things happen.
And that thing is all electric, obviously. So everything that's in that car, the acceleration, what track, all the computer stuff,
Sure.
like track acceleration, all this and that, and blah blah blah, the radio, everything
Gone. Why?
What's he say? My brother's was $21,000 for a new battery, and his car was $60,000.
Damn, that's crazy.
Sheesh.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you bought these Teslas new.
Oh my God!
And some of these new ones coming out called Rivians.
Yeah,
Rivian.
Nice looking cars.
Yeah, it's nice looking thing, but you're looking at a minimum of 60, more upwards into $80-some thousand. So if you had, let's say, if you bought an $80,000 car, and you have that thing for a couple years, or let's say 3-4 years, maybe 5, and then all of a sudden you got to drop another $21,000 for a new. Hell, you can get a damn new engine for about $6-7 grand.
Right.
Brand spanking new engine.
Right. Well, then you got the Hummer, which are expensive. So
the electric one.
Oh
my gosh,
it's huge if you haven't seen one in person.
It is huge. So again, it's just but again, the manufacturing process for these batteries. Or let's not even talk about the manufacturing process. Let's talk about the disposal process for these large batteries, because when you had the car battery, which was yay big, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
But now you talk, if you look at these electric cars, the half or from base, almost from wheel to wheel, the wheelbase is full of batteries underneath that thing. So think of them trying to dispose of those big ass things.
Right.
Bruh.
Right.
And of course, we only talk about them catching on fire and shit. We saw that. And like we said before when we did our podcast on these EVs, when it's like we've had this mother effing single digit cold out here.
Oh my God.
Which is ridiculous. If I lived up in Minnesota or Alaska, I would expect that. But I'm in Maryland, and I don't expect to have single digit freaking weather. But that drives the battery capacity way down.
Right. And the other thing that my brother-in-law found out too is the fact that so the batteries, you can't charge them to 100%. So because what'll happen is just like your cell phone, you'll get a memory that's on that battery, and then it doesn't charge it right anymore, if it charges at all. So you're going on a road trip. So we'll take the Hummer, for instance. The Hummer will go 125 miles on a single charge. But again, it depends on what accessories, and if you want to do crab walking and things like that down the highway, it's going to kill it. But yeah, I mean, you have to look at this stuff. So, you got all these people that are going out and buying these cars that don't know, because I'm sure the salespeople aren't telling them, hey, by the way, you don't want to charge it 100% of the time. So that's going to do damage to the battery as well. It's just, it amazes me. And
you're right, Mega Dog. The fireman can't put them out because there's a special kind of foam. It's also kind of the same thing you'd use for like like white phosphor grenades, whatever. You
Right.
can't put that shit out. There's a special kind of foam, and not all the fire people, or either all the fire, houses or whatever,
Sure.
departments and whatever have it.
Right.
And you just gotta let the shit burn out. And of course, we talk about the weight and everything of these things,
Ooh,
which
just imagine
triple.
Just imagine all the toxic fumes that would be coming out of that thing on fire. All that plastic and ooh.
Where else we at? Let's see.
Sorry, I kind of took you off.
No, it's fine. It's all part of the whole. Establishment of the Climate Change Support Office to assess climate-related financial risk.
Oh, that costs money. Yeah. Oh my God, we're going to lose millions of dollars if we don't change the climate right now. Well, how many millions of dollars did it take to figure that out?
Here, they just use large tanks where they get dropped in.
Oh wow, that's almost like the rods from the nuclear power plants. When the rods go bad or you can't use them anymore, they put them in water and keep them cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Did not know that.
Wow. Yeah, financial risk for climate related. Well, the financial risk is the government giving $800 billion in subsidies to green energy, and they ended up going out of business. Now that was during the Obama administration, but they did. They dropped $800 billion, and they went out of business because they couldn't compete in the energy market. You gotta let technology and the market drive. And like I said, and like it's, when California just said we're going to do all electric cars and blah blah blah, and we're going to use more windmills and stuff, and then they've had more brownouts,
right?
Because of the draw on the grid,
right? Yeah, and I think with the windmills, by the time all the building and everything, that footprint, it would take about, is it 100 or 200 years for that to equate each. So you're talking per windmill. By you use all the petroleum and everything like that goes into building this.
That they need to build them with,
yeah,
and grease them up with, and all that shit.
Right.
Here we go. Strengthening American leadership in clean cars and trucks. That needs to be something done by the federal government. Does it? So we can give China more money. That's basically what we're talking about.
Yeah. And if you go over there, good luck. I hope you take an N95 that's about 3 inches thick. Talk about climate control.
Yeah. And I think lastly on that one, catalyzing clean energy industries and jobs through federal sustainability. That was what. Over here with the EVs, no way they can extinguish those fires, so just submerge them. Well, that's right, yeah. Whatever you do to get somebody go out there with a little fire extinguisher.
Right.
Yeah, the federal government needs to stabilize clean energy. Well, again, that's what I call it, $800 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And $800 billion, and there was like 2 solar panel companies that went out of business. There's another solar farm, or not a windmill company went out of business. $800 billion.
Well, even with that solar farm, I could not imagine the amount of heat that area would generate. Because it would be, I mean, if you have a farm that's, let's say, a mile by a mile, that heat is going to dissipate.
And you're going to tell,
outwardly.
and you're not going to tell me that the reflection of the sun off those solar panels, especially if you get something huge enough that's that concentrated, that doesn't do anything to the atmosphere or something.
Right.
Bullshit. Last one: revitalizing our nation's commitment to environmental justice for all. Yes, that was a Biden administration executive order. Let's see. We only got a couple more, and then we're gonna bust Ed up over here with some crime. Elimination of privately owned correctional facilities. Well, when you have a privately owned correctional facilities, you could regulate that so much better than when you have a federal
Right.
owned or ran correctional facility. Right? And you get people to compete for the business and have it more efficient because, well, we know how federal government does.
Right.
So federal correctional facilities probably end up costing probably 3, 4, 5 times more.
Right. Now, with that being said, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that, simply because I can do many things. I can, take care, upkeep my house, do small projects and things like that, painting, all the other good stuff. But I'm not a professional. So, not to sound lazy, but we paid somebody to come in. We have a 2-story, that little walkway to get upstairs.
I'm not getting on the damn ladder up to 2 stories. I'm hiring somebody. Fuck that shit.
No, and that's exactly what we did. And it was funny because my wife is like, oh, well, we could do it ourselves. No, we can't. There's a difference between a professional painter and me busting my ass to get it done just to get it done. And, the thing of it is with the federal government, just like you just said, do we really want them running prisons? No, we don't. So you turn it over to people that know how to do this job. Same thing that we do here in Maryland with the cameras in the work zones. That's an outside company. That's not from the state of Maryland because we don't have the know-how. The government doesn't have the know-how to do it. So let's hire somebody that knows exactly what to do and how to control it. So when you pay your ticket, not all of it goes to the state of Maryland.
Well, it's like you saw that the head of correctional, federal head of correctional facilities got whacked. Trump fired her because one of her big things was one of the great things that she implemented or helped implement in federal prisons was transgender surgeries and putting somebody who identifies as a woman who's actually a biological man and putting them into female prisons, which there were overwhelming number of cases where they were getting raped.
Yeah.
So just because you're a female prisoner means you don't have any rights at all. So we're going to put a man in there. He's a man because he's got
genitalia.
Yeah.
Which I think that's funny because I don't think they would put a female that identifies as a male into a male prison. But yet it's okay if we take a male that wants to identify as a female and put them in a female prison.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of anything on the opposite side or on the other side where you have females transitioning to males and then somehow either going into male prison or even playing on male sports. I know there was that one female boxer.
Oh, my God.
That just got her ass handed to her because she said, well, she thought she could whoop any dude's ass. And they put her in there with some dude that was ranked like 559th or some shit.
So the lowest ranking.
And she didn't even hardly get the glove on him.
Oh, my goodness.
But anyway, it just, come on, people. I mean, seriously. All right, last but not least, balance of powers. Establishment of the president. Now, listen to this one. Establishment of the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States. Presidential Committee. We have checks and balances. We have separation of powers. We have executive branch. We have the judicial branch. And then we have the legislative branch. They're separate for a reason. But now you're going to have, so Biden's administration said we're going to have a presidential commission on the Supreme Court and how they operate. So,
why have a Supreme Court?
Thank you. So you're gonna influence how the Supreme Court, bruh.
Right.
If that ain't conflict of interest, well, I mean, to me, the Biden administration has been nothing but conflict of interest. But anyway,
yeah, talk about how did they say that? Using the government in retaliation. Do you remember, like, using it as a force?
mean, like they did with the Justice Department.
Yes. Wow.
And if they, and then you get the posse comitatus if you end up using the military,
Right.
and which Trump is using, but he's using for the border control.
Exactly.
He's like, well, we have National Guard and stuff.
Let's use them.
They're supposed to protect the U.S. citizens.
Right. There we go.
There we go. At least until we get better stuff in place and finish getting the wall in. And then we can start using some technology, drones, and so that way they can patrol a lot faster.
Sure.
And some other stuff. So
yeah. And ICE has been working overtime, huh?
Oof. So that's the one thing I want to talk about just real quick, is so. Or unless you're going to talk about it.
No, go ahead.
So Trump signed or revoked a executive order that says that they can't go into churches or schools for illegal immigrants. So then everybody went all up in arms and said, "Oh shit, that Trump's going to have ISIS stormtroopers coming into elementary schools, snatching kids out of desks and this, that, and the other." No. The people is stupid. What he's talking about is when you have an illegal person or a family, or he's using those as where we have the 300,000 kids that the Biden administration lost track of that were supposed to be with their quote unquote relatives, which they're kind of finding out, well, they're not really their relatives, but they need to be able to track them down somehow. So he's talking about ICE going into the school's administration office and saying, okay, we know that Bobby Jones was brought over, over the border, and we know that he is with so-and-so who's an illegal immigrant that we found out is not his father because they didn't do the proper vetting.
Right.
So we can go into the administrative records and say, okay, this is the address what they put. That's what he's talking about doing. He's not talking about going in there with freaking ICE all freaking armored up and going into the freaking elementary school while they're learning their ABCs and snatching little kids out of desks.
Right. And then, the kids get separated, and apparently they get put into cages and things like that until, the parents and everything, the actual parents can be brought in and detained and all that other good stuff. I think that's how it goes, right?
Yeah,
Chains. That
chains
type of thing.
And stuff, yeah. Everybody just put them in a pit somewhere. I don't know who does. But again, that's not what's going on, people. Come on.
Right.
It's could you imagine if Trump had ICE go into elementary schools, start snatching kids out of classrooms?
Oh my God.
Do you know what would happen? This country would lose its freaking mind. And it's stupid. But anyway, that's what I wanted to. So he signed a thing that says they can stop doing that, or they can now go into schools for that. But it's for the administration to find out, to look at the records to see who this person is that they gave this child to that they now have lost track of. And oh, by the way, they find out, it wasn't the child's family.
Right. So to protect the children.
No, he's just going to kick over desks and kick in doors and shoot teachers and snatch kids out of, or some bullshit.
Now, I think the one thing that I can see as being a sticking point, and that I kind of have an issue with, is the fact that, okay, so let's say ICE goes in to get illegal immigrants, but by doing that, let's say that there are legal children that, that they were born here even though their parents came over illegally, that unfortunately those children may become, innocents that are kind of drug into this. That's going to be a problem. Well, I think that's
the ones that are farther down the road.
Right.
He's talking about we're going after illegal, illegals that have come over here, multiple times. Ones with criminal records, ones that have criminal records that we found out had criminal records in these other countries which now makes them criminals. Well, they're criminals for coming over illegally, number one over here, but now they're finding out they're illegal or they're criminals in their own country. And he's like, hell no, you're not bringing illegals over here, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's what he's going. That's going to keep that ICE busy for
eons.
And then he's saying, then we could work out how we work this out to figure out those that were born here and stuff. He said because at the end, because if you looked at some of the stuff, they would just have women make it across the border, freaking ready to burst.
Right.
And boom, because if the child stays, it means the parent has to stay.
Right.
And then the parents, then they start bringing family over, and then all of a sudden you got 50 million people just because one child was born here. Now you got 50 people on social services.
Right.
And that's what we need to quit.
Right.
So anyway, that's that.
So the only nugget that I have to add to this one is, so I forget where I got this from. I forget what broadcast this came off of, but so as far as executive orders go, Biden in his first 100 days ordered 52 executive orders. He implemented 52 executive orders. So Trump in his first 72 hours did 42 executive orders. Now, looking back, the record is held by FDR, and he had over 3,700 executive orders over the course of 12 years. So you're talking, roughly it would be about one per day is what he put out there. The other interesting thing that this brought up, too, is that the executive orders today are used to undo or damage previous or incoming presidents, which I thought was pretty interesting because if you think about it, just look at it between Trump and Biden, excuse me. So Trump implemented all these executive orders, and then Biden came in and then reversed everything. So now you have Biden again leaving and is signing off on all these executive orders and things like that now the new administration has to deal with.
Yep.
So, and this is the legacy of Joe Biden, which I think is so funny because everybody, the whole legacy, was it last year, the year before last, the whole world of legacy and words started popping up all over the place for Joe Biden. And that's, he wanted his legacy, and this is what you end up with. You have a son that's an international criminal, and you've revoked or you've done all these executive orders that pad people that were involved in certain things to protect him. But again, the argument is that if I didn't do anything wrong, then what the hell do I need protection for?
Did you see where the federal judge came and said, well, he could do it for Hunter because Hunter was charged.
Right.
But the federal judge says it's unconstitutional, and he's going to supposedly either revoke the pardons for all the others because they were not charged with an actual crime.
Yeah, which would make sense because I can't protect somebody that technically doesn't need protection if you haven't been charged with a crime. Now, I do find it odd that Hunter, he got his ass covered, and Trump was prosecuted right before the president, the inauguration, which I find very interesting in the fact that now he holds the record of being the first criminal to now be in office. So don't tell me that wasn't a kick in the balls.
Yeah, there's been quite a few presidents that have become criminals after office.
Yeah, right. I am not a crook.
But that was, and they thought that if they put that moniker on him, or even before when they were going through the thing, that they said, well, then nobody's gonna vote for him.
Right.
But no, your administration was judged so badly that nobody's gonna be like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're voting for Trump. Now there's so many people that are coming over to Trump's side. It's insane.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing of it is that you wanted to make him a target. You wanted to make him an example, but by doing so, you've actually made him a martyr, and that didn't quite work out. So, shame on you. I mean, unfortunately, now America is looked at as a bunch of idiots. Our government is shit. Nobody gets along. Nobody wants to get along, and then you have a president that pulls that shit.
I don't know. From some of the YouTube videos I've seen in some other countries, I don't think we're that bad. I mean, I've seen fist fights in different countries' parliament or whatever they want to call it.
God.
It's like fist fights going on and shit. I'm like, oh, damn.
That's like an episode for The Simpsons.
Yeah. It's insane.
What a wonderful world. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully things continue going towards the positive. And we'll see where things go. But I think that things are definitely going to change. They already have, and we're in a step of the right direction. Hopefully, that it continues on and doesn't reverse with whoever becomes the next president of the United States.
I see the Democrats having a very, very, very hard time. Now it depends. If Trump gets, Trump gets in there and he just completely screws the pooch,
that's
maybe
one thing, yeah.
But if he's doing okay, if he's doing pretty good and he does what he says and prices come down, this and the other, I think it's going to be very difficult for a Democrat to go in there, at least for a little while,
right?
And kind of take over. Because if I'm thinking, let's just say Trump goes and then he's done after this president,
right?
Right. Let's just say J.D. Vance goes in, unless he screws the pooch, I could see J.D. Vance possibly getting, that.
Right.
Now, is that 1 term or 2 terms? Who knows? Whatever, and who knows who he pulls in as vice president?
Right.
If it's DeSantis or even the Vivek,
yes.
Who knows? And they unless they screw the pooch, I can see so I can kind of see it going for a while. Yeah, midterms.
That's the test.
That is the test. Yeah. So we'll see, because right now the Republicans have the presidency, the House, and the Senate.
Right.
So if they pass some good bills and everything and whatever, we might be okay. But if they kind of sit on it, and like especially like Congress, and dick around,
sure,
and whatever, make this them, who knows?
Yeah,
midterms might come and say, you know what, F that.
Right. And the sad part about it is, well, the good thing is that everybody's hugging and kissing babies and signing autographs and holding hands and everything's good. Now, just imagine if you could step back 8 years and if everybody worked to back Trump, not to work against him, where we would be at now as a nation. Think about that.
We'd be a lot better off.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I know some people hate to hear this, but I'm going to say it. This past administration has probably been
it's absolutely the worst.
Probably the worst one ever in the history of the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill O'Reilly actually put out a book. I think it was the 10 Worst American Presidents. I do want to see that. And he did put Biden, the Biden-Harris administration, in there. I don't know exactly where they fell, but I would like to get that book and read it and find out what his thoughts were on that.
Yeah. If not the worst, one of the worst. Definitely top 3.
Oh, man.
Carter's in there. Carter's a great guy, but during his presidency, it was horrible.
Well, I think he had more going against him. It was like the first time that someone like that had ever been elected president. So I think he had more going against him than he had for him. But, I mean, as a philanthropist, what he accomplished after the presidency is just amazing.
But that's where they should look at his legacy not as the president, because as his presidency was horrible,
Right.
but as the, like you said, the philanthropist and everything he did for like Habitat for Humanity and all that stuff. That's what they really need to it's So they shouldn't let like the president, his horrible presidency, taint his work there, or have his work there somehow make his presidency look better because his presidency was horrible.
Right.
So they just need to focus on the good that he did for decades and decades after he was out.
Absolutely.
And you think about some of these judges. Think about some of these presidents. Like look at like Bill Clinton. I mean, that piece of shit didn't do anything when he come out.
Oh no,
But what Carter did, he did a lot of stuff. Reagan did,
right.
A lot of good stuff when he came out.
Well, Bill Clinton charges him and Hillary charge, I forget how many hundreds of thousands of dollars to do speeches and things like that. That is also correct.
Yep. it was one of the worst. And then when
Clinton.
So then when Reagan came in, the interest rates in the country were around like 12%, like so for homes and stuff,
Right.
And they were like, holy shit.
Right.
It was something nobody's ever seen, and he got him down, but he had a lot that he had to work.
Yeah, there was a lot of work.
Yeah, and then definitely international level, Carter did so much on. He left him with some,
big bag of poop.
Big bag of poop, flaming poop.
Yeah, and then you got Clinton, who pretty much caused the whole bank implosion.
Mm-hmm. That was bad.
Yeah,
that was bad.
That was really bad.
But it wasn't until his second term where he had the Republican Congress came in and they worked together and they actually implemented some good stuff on, like, that's when they changed up welfare.
Right.
Made that a little bit more that you have to, that you have to prove that you're looking for work, stuff like that.
Sure.
But they did a lot of, they implemented actually quite a bit at that point, where his second term he did pretty well. But yeah. But that was with the Republican Congress, like poking him, saying, "Here's what we need to do."
Right.
But yeah.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much runs down everything with the executive orders that have been divvied out. Stuff
that Trump's just like, we're pulling it out.
Yep.
Pulling it out, bruh. And we'll see what he does as he goes through his, the next, they give him the first 100 days and see what he's doing.
Right.
And
I'm curious to see how many pens he's gone through already.
Do you see him? He was chucking them out to the crowd.
Yeah.
See, nobody's done that.
No.
Everybody's like, "Oh, here's for you," and here's, "Oh, Senator, here's for you." He did it at Capital One Arena, almost like a basketball game. He started chucking them pens out to like the normal, the regular people,
everyday people. Yeah.
Everyday people were getting freaking presidential pins.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet he's probably close to 200
pins.
Well, just all the signings and everything he signed off on. I bet you'd be close to about 200 by now. All right, Rodri. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yep. See when you get back, and like I said, that's when we'll kick off and start recording our two Neanderthals, life lessons from two Neanderthals.
Neanderthal.
And I think you're gonna really probably enjoy that one a little bit more than you do this one.
I know I will. I mean, I love this podcast. I truly do. But, I just, Gary was onto this way before I came along. And I thought it was great before. But yeah, I mean, just two guys basically putting out modern day issues. And, it's not about us. It's about the whole.
Yep. And like I said, that one will not be political.
No.
It's going to be just dealing. And like I say, the first one we're going to talk about is, is it acceptable in today's society for a man to actually be vulnerable and actually
show feelings
and stuff like that.
Oh, Thank you very much, Dutch.
Not jealous at all.
We'll make sure that we post some good pictures for
Hey,
you.
so just for shits and giggles, you missed that place. Is that so? People over there, you're the Netherlands. So where do people in the Netherlands go if they want a vacation?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, where would you vacation at?
Yeah, and I mean, do people in the Netherlands like to go to the
Sure.
to the Caribbean or tropical places?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or do they want to go like, I don't know, Switzerland or some shit and go skiing?
Right.
I don't know.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. How about that? Tell us that one.
Yeah. I'm interested to know. Like, all kidding aside, I'm curious to find that out.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Well, we went a little over. We missed some frames.
Yeah.
All
over
the
the world actually.
Okay, I can see that.
I mean, I could see people like in other countries coming over here, like say Universal Studios.
Sure.
And let me just give you this aspect. If you are coming over to the U.S. and you are deciding between Disney World and Universal Studios,
ooh,
I'm going to give you a little advice right now. It's cheaper. It's, in my opinion, 10 times more fun, and you're not giving the corporate friggin' establishment all the money, and I would definitely go to Universal Studios. Way better. And that's just me. But there was so much more. I thought it was so much better at Universal than Disney World. But that's me.
There you have it.
Especially if you're a Harry Potter fan, which I am not.
For sure.
Morocco, Aruba. Part of the Dutch. Oh, that's true. I keep forgetting about that. Been to Cancun, but Thailand, the U.S., and Southern Europe are popular as well.
Universal.
Been to Universal, had a great time.
Damn.
And I'm not a Harry Potter. As a matter of fact, I can't stand Harry Potter movies. But the Harry Potter section or whatever in Universal was one of the coolest parts of the whole.
By the way, Gary hates a lot of things that most people like.
Yeah, I do.
Just putting that.
I just can't stay. I just can't stand the movie where you got these little English. What are we going to do, Harry? Like, shut up.
I don't.
I
think
shit.
Gary is a little jealous of Harry Potter because he can fly.
No, I think I'm all right. But it gets on my nerves. But the Harry Potter, I guess what you call it, the
world
experience or word was awesome. It was great at Universal. I loved it. It was great.
Oh, so a little tidbit of information on Harry Potter. I think I told you about this, but there is a game. Yes, it's a professional game that is called quad ball, otherwise known as Quidditch. Did I tell you about this? There's a league. It's a professional league.
Like grown adults doing this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was funny because I'm pretty familiar with sports and everything, and I saw quad ball.
How they fly on a broom.
What the hell? Oh, it gets even better. Like, what the hell is quad ball? So when I looked it up, it was, formerly known as Quidditch. So I turned it on. I'm like, oh, I got to see this. There's also a professional kickball league as well. Which I thought
I've seen the kickball league. Yeah.
So they travel around. It's the same exact setup as Quidditch in the books and in the movies. And what they do is, obviously there are no flying brooms, but they have a stick. It's probably about maybe this long, and it's white. And they have to run with this with one hand on it, and it's between their legs. And they have to run with this pole throughout the whole entire time. So you have to have, you're only using one hand like you would in the movie to throw the Quidditch ball. I swear to God, it's real. It was on, of all things, ESPN. So yeah, it is real, and it's pretty competitive. But yeah, to see it for the first time was like,
is that anything like the professional tag?
Oh man, those
game?
guys are vicious, dude.
Come on, man, tag. What the shit?
Well, anything now can be.
To each their own. It's a free country. But also in that free country, we have the freedom of speech, and I can tell you that it's stupid shit.
I don't know. There's some pretty badass courses out there, man. You'd catch me in like the first 2 seconds.
You're a fan of Harry what? Yeah, no Harry nothing. Would go to Scandinavia and the Netherlands if I win the lottery. North American continent. The only thing that would cost you a lot would be depends where you go. Would be the airfare, but like if you went to like San Diego, which is a great city, you're gonna pay some shit. A lot of money. It's expensive as shit.
Vegas was fun. The Grand Canyon, that was that. Looking over the side of the Grand Canyon, no matter where you are at the Grand Canyon, really puts your life and you as a human being into perspective. You think, you're
small.
Your world,
That's
and
small.
you're the world, and everybody bows to you, and all this other stuff. But it literally is just like Gary said. It's like a pebble on the beach. You're shit compared to the overall picture. And if you don't get that perspective from there, I feel sorry for you.
Arizona, never again. Norway is the most beautiful country I've seen so far. Yeah, because they don't do anything over there. San Francisco. San Francisco is what almost banged me.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, do not go to San Francisco.
Oh, my God.
Nowadays, it's a shithole, and I mean that literally. There's shit in the streets. It's crime. There's drug addicts everywhere. It's bad.
I wish I could say that you were over-exaggerating, but unfortunately that is the absolute truth on that one.
Would have to spend a long time, months. The U.S. is a wee bit bigger than the U.K. Yeah, slightly.
Just a little bit.
But there's some good places you can go in the U.S.
Absolutely, yeah.
No cities, though.
Oh, God. Major cities.
A lot of the major cities are shit, but there's just so much others. You can, like in California, go see the Redwoods.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of other, like you said, the Grand Canyon. We got some nice beaches in Florida.
Washington State.
Go get some apples.
Yeah. Plus, that's
go to Maine.
Mount. Dang it! Why can't I think about it? Mount.
Which one? The one that blew up or not blew up?
No, the one that didn't blow up.
McKinley.
Yes.
You can go climb. You can go climb a mountain. You can go to Aspen and go skiing. Go to Maine and get you some lobster. Some chowder.
Some lobster. You got to pack your car.
And actually, I will say, I've been to a couple of the Great Lakes. Those are pretty impressive because you can't. When you look, you're standing on the shore of it, and you can't see the other side of a lake. I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah, just don't go in the wintertime. Apparently,
don't go.
There is a ship that is stuck in the center of that Michigan lake.
Really?
Yeah.
Like right now?
Like right now.
Oh shit.
Yeah. They're physically stuck due to all the ice and everything. So I would definitely not recommend going in the wintertime on that one. I couldn't imagine how cold that wind would be off of there. Yeah. Not a breeze, but
I tried Maryland. Yeah, you know what? Come on down to Maryland. We'll give you a place to stay. I'll even take off work and we'll show you where to go get some crabs.
I like to tremble with fear. Yeah.
Maryland crabs. Maybe take you to a
little VD shop.
Orioles or a Ravens game.
Got to go to the Orioles. I love the Orioles.
Go down to
Fells
Point.
Canton, another cool place.
So
yeah, tons of stuff.
We can go to the freaking Naval Academy down in Annapolis.
Oh yeah.
We even do some charter fishing off of Chesapeake, whatnot. Shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not that bad.
Yeah, just bring it on over.
We got your back.
All right.
Let's end this one. It's
3:20. Now we gotta go watch a game.
That's right.
Watch the Commanders and Eagles. Go Commanders. I hate the Eagles.
Did you see that one I sent you? The video I sent you with the people from Philadelphia? Go Eagles. EGLESES or something like that. No, SES. EGLSES.
They're not the brightest chick. I force you buy tea and pay the tax.
There we go.
Oh, look, they're trying to get their tax back.
That's right. Well, all right, folks. Thank you guys for the interaction. Thank you all to all the firefighters, the police, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines,
Coast Guard.
National Guard, thank you all for what you do, the things that you have sacrificed, the time with your family and watching your children grow up just to keep us all safe, protect us. Thank you all very, very much. And until next time, be careful. Watch our show. Like us, follow us, comment below. Then we'll go from there. Be safe.
Exactly. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Hopefully a little bit tanner.
Yeah. My vampire white skin needs a little help.
I look like an iPhone flashlight.
Right.
All right.
Nice. See you, folks.
See you guys.